Welcome to the City of Maricopa's City Council meeting. We're glad you're here because your voice matters. If you'd like to speak tonight, please start by filling out a speaker card at the council chamber's entrance and turning it in to the city clerk before the meeting begins. On that card, you can let us know if you want to speak on a planned agenda item or during the general call to the public. Please keep in mind that all comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, depending on the number of people requesting to speak. Personal attacks and political speeches or threats are inappropriate in this forum and will be grounds for ending a speaker's time at the podium, at the discretion of the mayor. We also ask that audience members refrain from applauding or showing disapproval of comments shared by fellow community members, as every person who addresses council has the right to speak and not be intimidated. It's important to note that due to Arizona's open meeting law, council members cannot respond or take action on topics not listed on the agenda. But your comments will be heard and entered into the public record. Can't stick around for the full meeting? You can always catch the replay on Facebook or YouTube, where this meeting is currently being live streamed. Want more details about tonight's agenda items? Scan the QR code on your screen or visit www.maricopa-az.gov/agenda. Thank you for joining us and getting involved. As a final reminder, please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. The City Council meeting will begin shortly.
Welcome. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's regular City Council, December 2nd, 2025. At this point, I'd like to invite up Pastor Doug Monday from Calvary Church of Maricopa. Hi, Pastor. And he will be giving our invocation, after which Councilmember Freddie will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise if you're able.
Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight in a free society, have our voices heard. And I would pray for the meeting tonight, Lord, the agenda, the council members, the people who are going to speak. God, what a privilege it is to live in a country where we can have a say. So, Lord, guide and direct this meeting. Give the council members wisdom as they make decisions that affect all of us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Monday, and thank you, Councilmember Freddie. That'll take us to roll call. Vanessa, if you will, please.
Councilmember Gettle?
Present.
Councilmember Knorr? Present. Councilmember Learman?
Here.
Councilmember Marsh?
Here.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Vice Mayor Wade?
Present.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, that'll take us to proclamations, acknowledgements, and awards and presentations. We have one item tonight, and that is the fun Maricopa Citizen Leadership Academy graduation. So I'm going to come down and I invite all of council to join me if you would like to actually congratulate them as well, and we'll get started.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to announce that the 26th session of the Maricopa Citizen Leadership Academy has officially concluded, and we have 21 graduates joining our previous class of over 440 this evening. And it is a wonderful program that's been going on for many years, and if anyone's interested in learning about the program or attending the Citizen Leadership Academy in the future, I invite you guys to subscribe to our newsletter or go to our website, www.maricopa-az.gov/MCLA, and I'll have all the information for you on how to attend in the future. So without further ado, I'd like to call out the names of the graduating class for the fall 2025 session. And when you guys come up, please grab your certificate from Elle and then stand up over here for a photo opportunity. Melania Arinkyang Hyol, Jessica Barber, Josephine Hawkins, Naneka Hoskins, Ryan James, Santana Johnson, Tholin Johnson, Thomas Lever, Avery Luna, Samuel Mambo, Julius Moore, Claudio Nunez Jr., John Placer, Cole Placer, Lori Riley, Brian Sandoval, Jerome Vida, Lee Walls, Chad Whittle, Dana Williams, and Penelyn Williams.
Oh, that's me right there. Nancy. Nancy, that's your chair.
Thank you. All right, before they leave, I want to tell you one thing. I'm excited for your graduation, but how many in the audience and how many up here on council have attended and graduated from Maricopa Citizen Leadership Academy? Look at that. And I can guarantee you not only these people up here who are serving, but the people who raise their hands are serving. So find your passion and make it happen, because it's a load of fun. But thank you for taking that class. Thank you. All right, that'll move us on to a report from the mayor. Council, turn it over to you. Yes, Councilmember Marsh.
So it's been 4 weeks since our last council meeting on November 4th. On November 5th, I got to speak at the Leadership Academy to all these wonderful people. And on the 8th, Saturday, I drove one smart veteran in my smart car in Maricopa's Veterans Day Parade. We had perfect weather for a parade. On the 10th, I met with Chief Goodman on a wide range of topics. There's always something new going on in law enforcement and public safety. On the 11th, Veterans Day, I attended the flag raising at the Veterans Memorial in front of the field house at Copper Sky. On the 12th, I got a briefing on economic development, strategic plan for 2026. On the 13th, Councilmember Manfredi and I hosted over 80 students from Maricopa Wells Middle School here in council chambers and told them all about how city government works and why. And I learned one thing. Manfredi is quite the performer and is a very hard act to follow. Then on the 15th, my month of November came to a crashing halt. I was working the Desert Cedars community yard sale, helping a nice woman load some furniture into her car. I tripped on the curb and fell and broke my hip joint. Fire and medical ambulance to Banner Desert Hospital, surgery the next morning, followed by 10 days of rehab. Discharged just before Thanksgiving and continuing rehab at Banner Maricopa for probably 6 more weeks. So for the second time in 2 years, I've learned an important lesson: no falling. I'm looking forward to Maricopa this coming Saturday, 5 to 8 p.m. at Copper Sky. Be there or be square. And here's wishing you and all Maricopa residents a happy holiday season.
Thank you, Councilmember Marsh. Councilmember Noor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things, and I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. I got to participate in the Mac at Mac Farms art show that happened recently, which was phenomenal. We just have such amazing artists here in Maricopa, and being able to display their work at Mac Farms is such a treat, and I highly encourage you to go out and see all of the beautiful works of art that are displayed out there. It honestly is inspiring. We really, truly have some great artists. And then along that line, on 12/13, Desert Sun Performing Arts, which is next weekend, is doing their Sugar Plum Tea. So if you haven't bought your tickets for Sugar Plum Tea, it's a great show, and I highly recommend checking it out. And then coming up in the new year, our arts community is doing the Inside the Creative Mind lecture series. And it's Saturdays at 3 p.m. in the library, and if you need more information about that, just let me know. But those are great opportunities to learn more about the arts. I was also able to attend the community Thanksgiving potluck that occurred at Maricopa Wells on Thanksgiving, and got to help serve and make a turkey for that event. And it's such a great opportunity for the people of Maricopa to come together and enjoy Thanksgiving together. This was my first year that I was able to attend it, and I will be back every year. Honestly, even if you have your own Thanksgiving going on, I highly recommend just stopping by. And they had live music and just like a really upbeat atmosphere. The students at Saddleback Elementary made these cute little placemats for everybody to sit and talked about what they were grateful for, and it was really just a great opportunity for the community to come together. It's not just if you can't afford Thanksgiving, it's for everybody to come together and enjoy the holiday. So I highly recommend that next year, and thank you to Maricopa Pantry for hosting that. Finally, I want to announce the Maricopa Women in Government Day at the Capitol that I am organizing with Representative Teresa Martinez. I'm really excited to bring this to the women of Maricopa. It will be Friday, January 30th, and we will meet at the Capitol downtown, and you will have the opportunity to tour the Capitol, debate a mock bill on the floor, and get presentations about issues and topics that are important to Arizona. And Representative Martinez has reserved the rooms for us. There's a limited space availability, so if you are interested, please email me at my city email. It's annamarie.noor@maricopa-az.gov, and which is available online. If you go to the city's web page, my email's on there. I know that's a lot. But I'm really excited about bringing the women of Maricopa to the Capitol to learn more about how our government works and to get involved. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Noor. Councilmember Lehrman.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to wish everyone a happy holidays. I hope you are in the spirit already. I just have a few short things. I want to wish the Space Force a happy birthday on December 20th. They were established in 2019. I also want to remind everyone that there is a food drive going on in the community, so please bring your donations. The locations are City Hall, Copper Sky, the Library, Community Center, Police Department, Apex, Orbital, ED3, Exceptional Health, in Maricopa, Ace Hardware, and Global Water. All donations are very much appreciated. I also want to share that as a result of some regional law enforcement meetings that we've had, Maricopa Police Department was awarded $35,000 in Government of Highway Safety grants. $10,000 went to a DUI task force, and the $25,000 went to traffic laws, enforcing traffic laws. So we're really grateful for that. I think our relationships and communication has really had some huge payoffs, and so we're appreciative of that. And that is all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Learman. Councilmember Manfredi.
Thank you. To build on what Councilman Learman was just saying, some of those meetings she's had has really impacted the enforcement on 347. If you haven't noticed, ADOT's sending out those, we stopped somebody doing 80 miles an hour, we did this, and that's just education, really. Enforcement, of course, because the person got pulled over, but then the education part is coming and telling people you can't do that, and basically warning people not to do that. So it's really great the work she's done with the transportation folks, with the law enforcement. I think Bob over here is giving himself not enough credit. We actually sat with folks and kids, I don't call them kids, young people, from Maricopa Wells Middle School for a trip that they did to City Hall. And he says that I performed very well, and I don't think so. He's an engineer, and what they're working on is future cities. So they want to learn about all this cool stuff that's happening. And then I got to tell him that, because he doesn't talk about it himself, but he's one of those original Microsoft guys. So I tell the young men and some of the young women out there that were in the audience that without somebody like Bob there'd be no Xbox. And they're like, whoa. And they're like, he's a hero at that point. So it's amazing stuff. Back on November 17th, I attended an RTAC meeting, and RTAC is just Rural Transportation Advisory. And on there, what we do is we fight, of course, to make sure that this part of the rural Arizona, Maricopa, is well represented. And for years, we've pushed the 347 and 347 funding. So it was pretty good to, when it came my time to speak to folks, that I wasn't really pushing for extra money for 347, and I can help others, like with the 24 and stuff and money that they need. And then on the 18th, I had a transportation policy committee with MAG, and MAG is important to us because MAG is the $90 million from Maricopa County that's part of the 347 funding that everybody says, the funding. So we're working to make sure that on that level, the money that we need from MAG is escalated and pushed up closer to the 2026, because that's when we're going to need it so we can get our transportation done and the 347 taken care of. And then, cool thing that happened. We had, I don't know if you remember, Jim Rounds was here last meeting, and he talked a little bit about the study that they're doing and the report that they're doing. So Gettle and Councilmember Gettle and I had an opportunity to sit down and have a long conversation about what we want to see as part of the future of economic development in the city. We got to talk about stuff that you could see Jim's eyes light up, and he was like, whoa, I didn't even, I want to put that in there. And he's talking about not just a template economic development thing where you should get more jobs, you should do this, but what the city of Maricopa can do specifically and steps that we can take so that we can put ourselves in position to bring more jobs and economic vitality to the city of Maricopa. Other than that, just a bunch of individual meetings and getting together and talking to folks and just figuring out where we're going to go for the next 5-10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manfredi. Vice Mayor Wade.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. It's been a pretty busy week or 2 weeks for myself. In November, I went to the 10 Toes Down and 10 Toes Up Cancer Walk. It was very well done. It was very well put together. There's a lot of kids, a lot of people were there, a lot of opportunity to get tested for mammograms and for Prostate. Yeah, prostate cancer. So it was really well done, really provided for the community. I walked with the folks there for the event. Took a couple of rounds around the park for the event, and then also was a participant in the parade for the veterans. On last Thursday, we attended the senior day, or lunch and learn, where we talked about trafficking, or we talked about title fraud. And title fraud is such an easy thing to do. It's so easy to do that it's becoming a phenomenon. And I encourage everybody everyone who owns a home, particularly if you have a home that has a high equity value, to make sure that you find out if any of your documents are being changed, and if they are, you can address it, and at least pay attention to it. Keep your eye on it in case someone tries to purchase a home on you or do an equity loan on a property that's not your property. Coming up, I'm going to be attending the Sugar Plum Tea as a narrator. I'm looking very much forward to that. That's going to be great. And I hope that you do come. The events will happen on 12 and 4. And so you have plenty of time to come out. Now, there a little competition with the Maricopa, but that's okay. You still can come in and have a good time with it. Yeah, that's it. Other than the Maricopa, I mentioned it already, but that's it that I have for this time.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Wade. All right, so this past few weeks, I had the luxury of going to a state championship for swimmers. Both of our high schools made it into the state championships. I have never been to a state championship for swimming. I have no idea exactly what I was watching. I tried to keep up. I was telling James Singleton, next time I have to sit next to him so he can help me figure out what's going on. But it was fascinating. I was there on day one, and we had some really good results. You guys, we have great athletes in the city of Maricopa. It's pretty phenomenal. But in regards to the swim teams, on our Maricopa High School boys team, placed 12th of 32 schools. That's pretty awesome. And specifically, Holden Garrick places second in the 200 free and 5th in the 500 free. Now, don't ask me what those are because I just watched and I have no idea, but I think it's pretty outstanding. Then we had at Desert Sunrise High School, Chloe Armstrong, who medaled in 2 events by placing second in the 100 backstroke and 4th in the butterfly. And so this is after 2 days of battling it out with 32 other schools. Pretty exciting. I just want to end that with the future of MUSD swim teams is promising and exciting, as with many of our other high school sports. So pretty thrilling for me. Next time I just have to sit next to James. The next thing was that I attended the November ADOT State Transportation Board meeting, and that was really important because part of their conversation a week earlier was how do they need to change the processes to consider all elements of what's important to transportation. And as you know, Maricopa was successful getting the 347 in the 5-year plan in June, and we have lots of lessons learned. So as I watched the work session, I came up with a list of about 7 things that they were entirely missing, growth being one of them. That growth is really important, and they don't take that into consideration when determining where the funds go for transportation. So I spoke in front of them, shared those 7 elements, and then sent it to all the board members so they had it so that they could continue that dialogue. And then also, of course, I had to bring up the fact that we need to always encourage ADOT to keep moving forward on this 347 project. They've been doing a great job. They've already gone out for bid. Sometime in January, they should be awarding the bid. And then sometime after that, we'll see a new timeline for when construction might start and various other elements. So they're doing a fabulous job moving forward. And I think Councilmember Manfredi shared last time, they've appointed the Broadway Curve team to be our project team, which is phenomenal. And so just all the encouragement that we can continue to give the State Transportation Board on continuing to move this forward. Then Katie and myself, Katie is our intergov, we were invited by Senator Farnsworth to give a presentation that actually Councilmember Manfredi and I gave at the Rural Transportation Summit to a large group of state people, state leaders, and help them understand what the city of Maricopa had to go through to get 347 on the 5-year plan. And so we gave that same presentation. They had a ton of questions after that, and Senator Farnsworth just asked me for a quote. He's putting together a document that basically talks about how important it is for the state to start to realize how funding transportation is critical. And so I love Senator Farnsworth for his passion in transportation, and we had a great time giving that presentation. And then today, our city manager, Bitter, and again, Katie, our intergov, and myself went to Senator Kelly's office, and we're able to talk about the floodplain issue that we have here. And as you know, you've heard us say that the floodplain impacts our business park, where we have all those jobs, and we're working hard to try and figure out how to solve that. But we can use his help, and we can use all senators' help and all of our Congress folks' help as well. So we plan on meeting with many of them in December. But this conversation at Senator Kelly's office was phenomenal. They took lots of notes on the floodplain, and our city manager did a great job explaining all the details. And then we also talked about I-11, because I-11 is one of those freeway systems that is hugely going to benefit the city of Maricopa. And it's been stalled at Tier 1 for a couple years now, and we asked him, his office, to get this moving, and we gave him some suggestions on how that could happen. So great meetings with a lot of wonderful leaders, and just a lot of success at our high schools as well in the sports. So that is your report from the mayor, and that turns us, oh, yes, Vice Mayor Wade, he has one more thing.
Sorry, I missed something that's very important. There's a young lady by the name of Annalise Alexander. She's a local high school student. She'll be accepting a leadership award from the governor tomorrow. And I'm going to attend. They invited me to come along with them, and I'm going to attend, which proves we look out for our community.
Yeah, a governor's award.
The governor's
That's
award.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I invited her to the January 20th city council, so you'll get a chance to meet her, and she'll bring her award. Pretty fun times. Okay, that will take us to the city manager report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Decided to switch things up and have a PowerPoint presentation for you tonight. It'll be 734 slides, so sit in. Just kidding. Just a few slides, and really hoping to talk about a couple of topics that pop up a lot in our community and that are important for our community to understand as well. So the first of those, as we get into it, will be traffic management. So 5 years ago, when we look at the city of Maricopa, we had a grand total of 17 traffic signals that we operated. And now we have 33, and we're working on 4 more that are adding. And so you look at the scope and the size of how our traffic operations have changed in just 5 years, and it's doubled. And what does that mean? Well, we've added a traffic engineer, we've added positions for our operators, and finding ways to get more people connected to this data that is so important to make the work flow, make the traffic flow. So the picture on this is actually the intersection right outside of City Hall here. This is White and Parker and Bolin Road, as that was being widened and putting a traffic signal in there. So just a good example of how we continuously try to improve our roadways, not just adding signals to add signals. That's certainly not something that we want to do, but signals bring added efficiency when they're timed properly. And so that brings us to the second slide. And the biggest concern and question we always have is on John Wayne Parkway, and holy cow, it's busy. We all know, right? We drive it on a daily basis and understand that, you know, at times we are going to face delays. And when there are cars going through from east to west, and there are cars turning left, and there are cars making U-turn movements, all of those disrupt that north and southbound flow. So it's almost impossible to have a perfectly synced light when there's high traffic conditions for us to make every single light. When there's not a lot of traffic, we're more likely to hit all the green lights, so to speak. But we've continuously adjusted timing, and we will continuously look at that and continuously try to improve that. We use data. We collect traffic counts and look at what time of day vehicles are coming through here. We've even looked at artificial intelligence to help predict what times we're going to see the highest amount of traffic, and then implement a new signal timing plan based off of that data. And so all of those things we're open to solutions and continuously try new things as a way of improving. It is never going to be perfect because every condition is different than the day before, the hour before, or the next day. And so it's a constant adjustment based off of what we can see and the best facts that we have at any given time. We also have done other things like efficiency improvements. And so when you look at the Smith-Inky and 347 intersection, that's our busiest of the day. We have well over 60,000 vehicles that pass through that intersection every day. When we added that northbound continuous flow right turn lane, that has helped tremendously on the backup on Smith-Inky that's heading west and going north onto 347 in that morning rush hour in particular. So we've seen an improvement there. We've seen some improvements with how those signals are timed in terms of left turn movements and when those come before or after, sometimes at the same time. And so we've looked at those to make efficiency improvements to improve that intersection. Another thing that we've got starting in the new year, if you're familiar with the South Cobblestone Farms traffic signal, that's by the Chase Bank. Right now, it only has 3 legs. So it's the northbound, southbound, and then the westbound onto South Cobblestone Farms Road. What we're starting in the new year is actually that 4th leg, so the 4th part of that intersection to go over towards Freddy's and Starbucks and Rosati's and all those areas over there. Well, why is that important? If you're right now heading southbound into our community and you want to go to Starbucks, you have to go through the Smith-Inky intersection and then turn left or flip a U-turn. Some people do that despite there being a no U-turn sign. So you can get a ticket for that. But all of that puts more traffic in the busiest intersection that we have in town. So if we can create a new driveway, for example, at that South Cobblestone Farms light that goes onto what is the Dignity Health property, and then south to Freddy's, CVS, to Starbucks, that creates a better traffic improvement for the Smith-Inky and 347 light. It also improves general traffic on 347 because it doesn't create any more delay than what already exists, but it gets cars where they're trying to go in a more efficient way. And so those are kind of some of the improvements. Also, Green Road bypass, we continue to work on finding ways to get people to their destinations faster through new routes. And so that's part of the commuting corridors discussion, where we're working with our neighbors on the Gila River Indian community or the Ak-Chin Indian community and continuously trying to develop some of these roads that will bring new bridges, that will bring new roads and everything to help make commuting easier. That's part of our capital improvement plan. If we could go to the next slide. So to that point, what are some of those further upcoming plans? Well, there are obviously requests coming in now as we're already in budget season. It's hard for people to believe that when we start a budget in July, on July 1st, when we start a new fiscal year, that is almost a year-long process for us as we're preparing and submitting and reviewing requests to try and find the best balance for our tax resources. And so those operational and capital requests have started coming in, and we're reviewing those to ensure that we're providing the most efficient use of those dollars. Some of those include optimization for our signal timing and for the replacement of aging equipment that we received as part of taking over the jurisdiction of John Wayne Parkway within our city limits. But some of those signals and the equipment within the signals are older than the city itself as it relates to our incorporation date. And so some of those things need to be replaced. And as we find those with our signal technicians and as we have failures, we try to do our best to piece it together, and we're going to have some replacements. So all of those things planned in future fiscal years. Additional traffic signals to improve flow. Obviously, continued data collection with traffic counts, with working with artificial intelligence. Having potentially a future traffic management center like shown in the picture. This is actually ADOT, so you can see that at the top, but you can manage a whole bunch of sites at the same time by simply monitoring where the traffic is flowing and trying to understand where any hangups may be and then adjust. And then finally, obviously, the new roads, widened roads, new bridges, et cetera, that are coming as part of our future CIP. So that's it on traffic management. Another thing is somewhat related as it relates to our growth and our growth management. Well, we have recently and will continue to update our whatsnewmaricopa.com website. And one of the things that we've just added to this is a section particularly for the commercial projects that's called In Review. So it's highlighted on this image. So as you click commercial projects and click In Review, what you'll actually see are 3 projects today that are listed that are currently being reviewed by our city staff. So these are site plan reviews, or they're building permits, or whatever else it may be that is in at that time. You could find that here. Well, why are we doing this? And what does this mean? And what's the purpose? Well, we want to be the best organization that we can be. We want the most comments so that we can receive the best product to our community and provide that when we have Clean Freak Car Wash or Black Rock Coffee. If you have comments, if you have suggestions, we want to hear them because that can improve our ultimate project. And so if you go to the next slide, this is just an example. As you click through one of those, you can see some contact information on there, and then you can even see some of those plans. So for example, the landscape plan or the color elevations. Again, we are under no belief that we are the smartest people in the world. We believe that everyone has something to add, and we want to hear it. And so if we can enhance that transparency, if we can get better results because of your comments, by all means, submit those comments and provide whatever thoughts you have on how we might be able to approve and how we can incorporate that into that ultimate project. And so certainly encourage people to check out whatsnewmaricopa.com as well. We'll continue to update that. There will be some new rollouts coming in the next few months as it relates to the platform itself. And just really excited to see all the great things our staff and community is accomplishing. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, City Manager Bitter. All right, that'll take us to the call to the public. Tonight I do have 4 speaker cards, and I will be giving you 3 minutes each. And I'm going to first invite up Brad Follett. Hello.
My name is Brad Follett. I'm a CEO of Earth Month Network here in Maricopa. I'm appearing especially tonight as an individual and a resident of Maricopa, and I'm here to speak about the water issue within the city. You may recall that I stood before you in May and I communicated some concerns about our water, expounding to the disreputable point that our water, our potable water, is not a political issue, but is a human right. You may be aware that on August 27th, that Global Water received a positive E. coli test. It's a waterborne pathogen, a health concern, making water non-potable for both humans and for pets. Now, many in the community, as well as myself, as one being affected, have a colossal amount of displeasure within the approach, means, and manner in which the incident was handled then and even to today. This displeasure is placed upon Santa Cruz Water Company, Global Water Resources, and unfortunately with the city of Maricopa. This is our home. Many people here tonight in the chambers and in the public may not even know if they were affected by the E. coli. Even our returning winter residents, however, the harm it caused is still ongoing. People don't even know that. How about you and your families? Were you affected? Various ones had mild effects, others went to the doctor, others were hospitalized, and we still have some today that are seriously affected. As such, a class action lawsuit in the form of a state law claim has been filed upon Global Water Resources, Santa Cruz Water Company. For further information, contact counsel Jeffrey M. Thrashberger, that's GEOFFREYM-TRACHTENBERG, with Fredo Richardson, PC. Phone number is 480-540-1341. Thank you to all. Good health, and stay safe.
All right, our next person I'd like to invite up is Peg Chapados.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to share some good news with you. This past Saturday, we held the 5th annual Maricopa Main Street Marketplace at Leading Edge Academy. We had well over 500 to 600 people attend, 60 artisans, booths indoors and out, and a lot of people spent money here in Maricopa this past weekend, so I wanted to share that. I also want to invite the public to 2 upcoming events, actually 5 upcoming events. On Saturday the 13th, the Maricopa Music Circle and Maricopa Chorus will be doing their annual winter concert, 3 p.m. out at the Ag Center on Smith Inc. If you've never been, I highly encourage you to go. It's a fantastic afternoon of music and singing, and it's wonderful. And they have a little reception afterwards, and you can see the art that Councilmember Noor was talking about. Also, I want to expound a little bit on the Maricopa Arts Council Inside the Creative Mind series. This time in 2026, their theme is Creativity in Life at Large. There are 4 speakers that are slated. The first one is going to be Saturday, January 10th, and that's going to be Kevin Garone. He is a writer and publisher of literature that appeals to middle school children. On Saturday the 24th, yours truly is going to be talking about how I create tabletop and board games. On Saturday, February 2nd, Terry Oldfield, who is a stained glass specialist and also a bagpiper. If you've ever seen our honor guard do any of the military stuff, you probably have seen Terry play. And then on Saturday, February 28th, Steve Portray, who is a phenomenal wood turner. His wife, Cynthia, sits on the Cultural Affairs and Arts Committee, and she's a weaver. But if you really want to find out more about the wealth of talent we have here, I encourage you to come to the Maricopa Library, 3 p.m. in the Redwood Room, and admission is free. There's also a little reception, and you'll learn a great deal about the wealth of talent we have here. So thank you.
Thank you. I 100% support all of that. We do have phenomenal artists, just like we have phenomenal athletes in the city of Maricopa. The next person I'd like to invite up is Dana Williams.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I just want to say, first of all, that this class was very informative, and it was a very good class to take to find out what's going on in Maricopa. I found out things about my city I had no idea. So I wanted to say that. Thank you for that. I also wanted to tell you guys about my business. And some people had a chance to taste my desserts. I brought them to the academy for the 5 weeks. So it's Heavenly Cheesecakes and Catering Company, or Heavenly Cakes by Dana. I will be at Maricopa. So I'm honored to be a part of Maricopa, and that women's at the Capitol you were talking about, and economic development is very important. So I think that good businesses are a part of economic development. So I just want to say thank you, and that I love this city.
Thank
That's
you very
it.
much.
Bye.
All right, the next person is Larsa Anderson and Pastor David. Where? Lisa, thank you.
That was a workout. Mayor Nancy Smith and Vice Mayor Henry Raid, and to the council members, this is my cute husband behind me. Y'all know him already. He prays in junk. So I wanted to just come to announce, which is, we've been doing it for 6 years, but Rockin' the Stocking. And what Rockin' the Stocking is an event that the city has definitely impacted in who we can serve. But it started in 2020 when COVID began, and we had no way to serve the community. So we made up a way, and we created a drive-through Christmas party where we got a DJ Claus, and played some music, and we stuffed stockings through car windows. And we didn't realize the need at the time, but the need was so great. Vice Mayor Henry can attest to this. The lines were down. We needed people to help with traffic. And so we know everybody who has a need, they're not going to say, they don't look like they need. Everybody who has a need doesn't look like they have a need. And everybody who has a need is not going to say it. And so we make whatever they need available for whoever needs it. And so this year we are doing it on Thursday, December 18th from 4 to 7. I cannot actually name the entity that donated their parking lot for us, because this is, as you all know, although Big Community Church is organizing it, we're not staking claim to it. This is for the community, by the community, and we want to keep it that way. And so the location this year is the corner of Honeycutt and Porter behind the Circle K, and y'all probably already know where that is. But we've got several large donors this year, which we are so grateful to God for. We're going to keep serving until the last candy cane is gone. And so it's open to anybody who wants to come. This is something that is near and dear to my heart specifically, because having worked in the education system, I understand that there are, people who don't have. They just flat out don't have. And so if we can put a smile on their face, but also be a resource to them, that's what we're going to do. And so we're inviting businesses, organizations to come set up a booth. There's no cost to you to do it except for what you donate. You donate 150 items or more. When you're out, you're out. When we're out, right? But we're going to serve as many people as we possibly can. You can do way more than that, of course, if you want to. And we just want to make sure that the city is taken care of this time. And I know this year the need is greater probably than it has ever been because of the size of the city. When the size grows, the need grows. And we just want to come together as a community to meet it.
So we hope you can join us.
All right.
Time is up.
We have flyers and cards for anybody who wants to take it to their church or school or whatever. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. That is all the speaker cards that I have. Would anyone else in the audience like to approach the podium and have 3 minutes? All right, seeing no one, I will close the call to the public. Oh, do I have, should have known.
Rich is here, he's gonna talk. What are you talking about?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor and Council, already?
That was good.
There
I'll
you
get
go.
you on a county one, don't you worry. Actually, Vice Mayor Wade reminded me of something about protecting your title. So I don't know how many people here know that Pinell County actually has 2 different styles. They have one called PAL, which stands for Parcel Alert List. It's free of charge. You come into the county, our county office here in Maricopa. You fill out a form, bring your driver's license. If you have a deed, if you have a trust, you need to bring your trust in, and it protects your title. What it does is that you'll get an email and a phone call if somebody's trying to steal your title. Then we also have one through our recorder's office. Again, free of charge. That one has to be done online, so you can go on the county website and get that. So I just wanted to remind, because Mr. Wade, thank you for reminding me, that it's been going on, especially with our seniors. It's becoming very, very, unfortunately, popular to steal people's deeds. And it's through the county, and actually the sheriff also reminded me about it because they've been getting a lot of notifications. So please come into our county office. It's free of charge. How many people have their titles protected? Not enough of you. So please come into our office here in the county in Maricopa and fill it out and get your title. Like I said, there's 2 ways of doing it. So, and if you need help, the girls at the counter will take care of you, okay? Thank you. Merry
Supervisor,
Christmas.
are they both equal, both ways?
Yeah, they do the same thing,
Okay.
just that it doubled protection. It was just a newer program that they came out with. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, last chance. Anyone else? All right, I will close. Come along. Yep.
Come on down.
Give us your name, and I'll give you 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Samuel, and last name is Mambo, and I'm honored to be here tonight with my lovely, beautiful wife, Esther, back there. Thank you, Mayor Nancy Smith, and Vice Mayor Henry Wade, and all the council members, and everybody else, the city manager, and your team, city attorney, and everybody else in the congregation here. First of all, thank you so much because of the school that we went for the Maricopa Leadership Academy. We learned a lot. And I have 2 daughters, or we have 2 daughters, me and my wife. One is a senior in Maricopa High School. The other one is a freshman in Maricopa High School as well. Originally from Kenya, now we are here. We have some businesses here. We have transportation business, we have real estate, and as well as healthcare business. We are lovely, and we love Maricopa to call it our home. And by seeing us here as well, you can see the diversity that Maricopa City is having. And we are praying for this to continue, and we are honored here tonight to for giving us this opportunity for a place like the city of Maricopa where we can call it home. So city of Maricopa is our home and the home for my family as well. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. All right, last chance. Anyone else? All right, I will close the call to the public. It's messing over here. That'll take us to the consent agenda. At this time, we have consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.9. I have 0 speaker cards. And so, Council, do you have any questions, comments on the consent agenda items? Yes, Councilmember Knorr?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that 7.1 is canceling some of the meetings. We have a lot of familiar faces that show up, which I love that you show up every meeting, but I don't think sometimes you could miss that a meeting was canceled, so I definitely want to point out that you should check out 7.1 and don't show up if we're not showing up, because that would be super boring. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other additional comments, questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
So moved by Councilmember Manfredi, seconded by Councilmember Marsh. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Very good. That'll take us to the regular agenda items. Our first item is 8.1, which is an ordinance talking about amendment to health and safety, which is Title IX. And Rick Williams is giving our presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just a couple of housekeeping items while they bring the presentation up. There are 3 ordinances associated with this, 15, 16, and 17. For the purposes of our conversation, I'm going to combine them all into one.
Okay.
But we will need 3 separate actions on them once we get to the end.
Gotcha.
One other item as we get into this, for the purposes of the discussion, to kind of clarify a little, I've broken them into the different amendments into 3 categories, and that would be revisions to the ordinances themselves, legislative matters, and then new text that we've added in, and we'll move through it in that direction. Just makes the conversation a little clearer, a little easier. So that being said, this evening we're here before you tonight to present 3 different ordinances making significant changes to the Maricopa City Code. And we do these for several different reasons, but more importantly, it brings the current code into compliance with ARS requirements. It updates multiple sections, gives us a chance to, bring them into consistency with current development trends and standards. And occasionally we do run into some Scrivener errors that are identified by the code. So it's a good opportunity. So as I said, we would break it into the 3 different versions here, and I'm going to start with the text revisions. And these different sections are essentially moving things around, cleaning items up, or just for clarification purposes. Section 1730, recreation and tot lot design requirements. I'm not going to read through this word for word, but essentially what we've done is moved it from one section in the code to the other. With respect to the mixed-use heritage overlay development standards, there is a 2-car covered requirement. Y'all may be familiar with our Ready, Set, Build program that we brought back before y'all, I believe it was last year. If you recall, those do not have garages associated with those Ready, Set, Build. So we had a contradictory there. We were putting it in but requiring something that we weren't offering with it. So we cleaned that up. And the same with the 1880, the screening requirements. We just codified that within our code to make it clear that there are certain screening requirements with respect to mechanical equipment, SES cabinets, and things of that nature. With respect to the group homes, the separation requirement between the 2 types of group homes was a little bit foggy, not crystal clear, And so we just went in and added a little additional text to make sure that was not confused. Finally, we added single-room occupants and food court trucks to the list of terms and definitions in that section. And then finally, in section 1820, we clarified seasonal sales, which are the Christmas trees, the fireworks, the pumpkin patch establishments, as temporary use permits instead of seasonal sale, special event sales. And we also increased the allowable signage for those businesses. So moving into legislative items, Arizona House Bill 2447 was passed into legislation on March 31st, 2025. It revised section 9-549, essentially relating to administrative review and approval. The bill mandates that the legislative body of a city or town shall by ordinance authorize administrative personnel to review and approve site plans, development plans, land divisions, lot line adjustments, lot ties, preliminary plats, final plats, and plat amendments without a public hearing. Additionally, it also mandated that cities allow at-risk submittals for preliminary grading and drainage work, and it also the ability to submit for expedited review. The two bullet point items that you see on the screen right there, the city is already currently engaged in, so that's not a part of this amendment before you this evening. So with respect to the ARS compliance, folks, I've broke these down into, again, two different reasons. So the four different sections you see on here essentially remove the preliminary plat, the final plats, from the city council decision-making properties, and as well as the planning and zoning commission functions. Yeah, I got both of those on, and those are concurrently in order there, and you can see that they are also in section 17 and 18, both of, one is our subdivision regulations, the other is the zoning ordinance of the city code. With respect to those powers, in compliance with ARS 2447, we've now taken those and we've made those decision powers with the Development Services Director. We've added the appeals for preliminary and final plats to the hearing officer section of the zoning ordinance, and we've also placed the preliminary plat decision-making powers with the zoning administrator as well. Those four different, or actually it would be 8 different amendments, bring us into conformance with the state statute 2447. With respect to new text, section 810.015 introduces alley maintenance requirements and the responsible party for keeping those in a good maintained order and where the perimeters of that land. 1840, this provision requires commercial development within with a minimum of 50,000 square feet to incorporate a pedestrian-oriented form of art into their development. Exciting stuff. Section 1875, the Mixed-Use Heritage Overlay District. This adds the food court requirements to the heritage overlay and also establish it as a permitted use in that section. 18120, food truck courts, creates a new section in the Maricopa Code establishing not only zoning requirements for the food trucks, but also development standards for it in the mixed-use heritage station as well. And finally, and actually this is a little repetitive, I apologize for that, but we added the single-room occupant and the food truck court list to the terms of definitions in the ordinance. I've outlined here the amendments before you this evening meet several objectives of the general plan, and I've outlined those in front of you this evening. Just make a note of the notification requirements. On September 8th, we posted this on our city website. October 9th, we ran a newspaper article in the Casa Grande Dispatch. 27th of October, we had a first Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on this. And I would just point out that at this point, Mayor, Council, I have had no public comment received to date from any of the outreach opportunities we've put out there. As I stated, by 3 separate actions, staff recommends Mayor and Council concur with the Planning Commission and approve the 3 different ordinances before you this evening. That concludes my presentation, ma'am. I'll be happy to answer any questions that Mayor or Council may have.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Manfredi, I believe you had some statements specifically regarding HB 2447?
Nothing I can say now. I had some statements, but I'll calm them down a little bit. So HB 2447 is basically a bill which is trying to take away some of the things that we do in the city of Maricopa. Not trying, it mandates it does. I mean, it's pretty simple. In response to 2447, which, as we mentioned earlier, became law in March, the city of Maricopa required to, update our regulations to stay in compliance. Not doing so would be not a good thing for the city of Maricopa. I've been talking about the state and local control for years now, and how they will whittle away local control as much as they can, when they can. Rich actually, Supervisor Vidiello actually spoke about it about a month or 2 ago right here at the dais, and he, at the podium, and he talked a little bit about it. And so basically, you know, what we want to do is make sure that the city is getting what they want, right? And that all the regulations are being followed. I know there's some worry that this takes final plat approval away from the city council. It takes some other stuff away from planning and zoning, and people are worried that does dilute what we're doing here in the city of Maricopa. But we're going to have faith and courage to understand that our zoning, our folks in charge and our planning department are going to make sure that we're seeing what we want as a council, and we're giving direction. The stated goal of this is simple. They want to increase the speed, efficiency, and development process while they believe respecting local control. And I believe it's more that they want to take away local control as much as they can. This change moved the routine stuff like code compliance decisions and planning and zoning stuff and city council decisions away, and basically hopefully makes it a little bit quicker. You know, the funny part is at the state level, they treat every city the same. And not every city is the same. We're different than Scottsdale, different than Tucson, much different than Phoenix, and Gila Bend is much different than Maricopa, and et cetera, et cetera. So every city's different. So I don't like the fact it's a boilerplate thing. But the good news is Maricopa's already ahead of the curve in some of the areas of the law, like allowing at-risk submittals so they can get started before they even get their approvals for drainage work and such. And to comply with 2447, these amendments are basically required.
Correct.
And I asked a question, what happens if we say no? And I was told, state funding might go away. We might get sued a little bit by the legislators and things like that. So, you know, although we have to vote for it, doesn't mean we have to vote for it happily.
Thank you very much. I had a couple concerns that I wanted to share with you in regards to taking some action. I had the privilege of being able to sit with 2 of our legislators for lunch with other mayors from their district, and we talked specifically about this item. I gave them 3 examples. As you may know, one great example in which staff and residents contributed to is Santa Rosa Springs, right just east of there, are new apartments. And they originally were going to put the 3-story apartments right up against the homes that are there in Santa Rosa. And this ability to review plats and, excuse me, plans allowed for the discussion both on the staff side and on the resident side to say, I live in one of those homes. I don't want the 3-story buildings there. And as a great result, they were really wonderful neighbors, and the developers moved the 3-story buildings out to the front on Porter. They put parking up against where the houses are. That's just one example that I gave to our legislators. And they asked me what they could do about it once they now realize what kind of an impact it has. I'm so sorry. And I said, can you reverse the decision? That would be great. And however, they didn't think that that was possible. They were going to go back and study and look and see if there's anything else that they can do. But what I love about our city is that our staff, and what the city manager mentioned earlier, is the fact that they are putting on What's New Maricopa the opportunity for all of us, including P&Z, including City Council and all residents, to review what's happening and what's being currently reviewed by our staff. I have that right, Rick?
That is correct, ma'am.
Very good. And so you mentioned commercial, Ben. Will we also have that for apartments and housing as well? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just much more complex.
Yeah.
So
okay.
when you have
but
a major,
we'll work our way
absolutely.
toward
Yep.
it. But, and then my last question related to that is, I want people to walk away. So how, let's just talk about, it's available now for commercial. How do they provide that input back to you in a timely manner while you're reviewing and making those decisions? How do they do that?
Again, thanks, Madam Mayor, if you go onto the What's New Maricopa and see something on there, or if you see a sign on a site, there's always a way listed for contact. On the What's New Maricopa website, there's an email address provided, and any one of our team members can get those emails from the What's New Maricopa website, or if there's a sign on the website, or if there's a sign at the actual site where something is occurring,
Perfect.
then that contact information would be on there as well.
Perfect. So residents, if you see, or even businesses, if you see an orange sign go up, or you understand something new is coming to a property near you, go to What's New Maricopa, see what's happening, see if you have any concerns, and share it with our staff. That right now is what we can do in order to provide your ability to have input into this specific change. You know, if I had my way, my legislators would come back and say, okay, we are going to reverse it, Mayor Smith, but I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe they can find a workaround for that. And let me see. That was the end of my questions. Additional comments, questions? Yes, Councilmember Gettle.
My question actually revolves around 8.2, if it would be appropriate to address that one, since we're considering all these together, Madam Mayor. So, Derek, Rick, I mean, we had a whole bunch of information to sift through over these last several days, and so trying to be very, very careful about this. Maybe I'm missing something or misunderstanding something, but in the PDF document for 8.2, this will be the Exhibit C, the final text PDF version of what's being proposed here tonight. If I understand correctly, we are looking at compliance where City Council and our Zoning Commission no longer need to give their approvals for certain things. So under section 17.20.06, the final plat improvement plan approval, in that opening paragraph there, it seems to already or still include City Council being part of that process. So I don't know if that's an oversight on the final or if I'm misunderstanding that paragraph. I could read that to us if we need it read, but.
Madam Mayor, council members, it clearly, sir, is an oversight, and I'll make that change as soon as we get back to the office in the morning. Yeah, there was a lot of information, a lot of 180 pages, I think, with total.
It was great reading material. Thank you.
So yeah, that's an oversight, and we'll correct that first thing in the morning.
Thank you very much, and that's really the only question or comment I had on that.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Gettle. Yes, Councilmember Knorr.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, and I echo what Councilmember Gettle said. It was a lot of reading, and I also watched the Zoning Commission meeting where some of this was discussed. I just think it's important, and it's unfortunate, I think, for you and the folks in Development Services that there's going to be a lot of pressure on you now because you have to review these and you were taking it away from the council, and we're taking it away from planning and zoning, and so it's really going to lie at the feet of development services. And so I think it's really important that development services takes that responsibility seriously and make sure you're dotting I's and crossing T's and really thinking about what the community would think about, because you're not going to have the benefit of the robust community feedback that you had before. I hope everybody takes the mayor's suggestion, and I hope everybody continues to ask for information and look at orange signs and read them and provide input. But we know people get busy. We know that just, it's a lot to ask of our community since we're taking away this formal procedure because we have to, based on the law. But I just, I feel bad for development services in some respect, but I'm asking you and imploring that you really, put special eyes and give a lot of due diligence to this as we go forward. So.
Thank you. If I could just say that, sometimes when legislation comes along like this, or you're forced, essentially forced to make changes that you didn't necessarily want to make, it creates an opportunity to take a good look at yourself. And that's the way me and my team are focusing on this, is that we have to get better. So it's an internal audit of the things that we do and how we can approach our processes and make them even stronger, make them tighter, and make them more compact so that we don't miss things going. So, we're as a team, we're disappointed, but we're up to the challenge and we're looking forward to it. And we'll continue to find ways to be more transparent, and be more informative in the community, and we'll look for every opportunity that we can find to do that.
Madam Mayor, if I may as well.
Yes, please.
This doesn't also take away the sometimes the ability for us to have neighborhood meetings, and it doesn't take away requirement for mailing. So there are additional ways that are still possible to inform neighboring areas and for those people to provide comments. We don't want to make it sound like the only way to provide comment is through What's New Maricopa or an email. We're just trying to provide all opportunities. And so any way that we can get those, we'd certainly welcome them.
Thank you for that clarification. That's important. Yes, Councilmember Marsh.
In order to avoid getting decisions made one after another behind a curtain, I'm thinking The Wizard of Oz, could we have a procedure in our city where the plat decisions continue to be presented to P&Z and council as a courtesy and open for discussion?
Yeah, council member, I would defer to.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time going back to the intent of the legislature, and I know we think of a public hearing as a very specific process. They should have chose different language because the intent was there was no public process.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, we dug into that to see if there was some way we could still go through this, and
I think it's a great question. P&Z had the same question. I brought it up, Councilmember Marsh, and I know probably others brought it up. Thank you for digging into that. It's unfortunate because
Katie as well. Yeah. Katie was involved with the legislative intent and going back to all the hearings and what was actually said, and it was that we do what's being proposed tonight, and it doesn't go to we can report on it afterward, but we can't make it a condition of approval.
One last thing that I just realized in my notes, I wanted to give praise. The whole team did a fantastic job on your staff, but the food court from Danya, did I say that right? I always mess up her name.
Danya Castillo, our project coordinator.
Talk a little bit about that, because she put a lot of energy into finding a way to get this to happen in the Heritage District.
Well, Mayor, council members, I would say is that I'm just the messenger on this one. But she did all the legwork. She did all the research on it. She put together the different provisions that are contained within it, within the ordinance. She brought those to Rudy and myself. We sat down. We looked at them as a team. We put them back together, made recommendations. She took it back and she took it from A to Z. And it's I think a really good starting point.
Yes.
We don't know what to quite expect yet, but we've built provisions, or she's built provisions in there for different types of scenarios. Wouldn't surprise me to see us amend that maybe a little bit down the road someplace, but it's a wonderful place and a wonderful reference for a starting point. And I think it's going to be we've had numerous people already inquire as to when it's going to be available, when can we start. And I think we'll see possibly, very short-term results on that as far as folks taking advantage of it.
Very good.
But
I'm excited. She did a great job.
She did a great
Yeah, I was
job.
really impressed by that. All right, any additional comments, questions? All right, let's go back to item 8.2, ordinance 2516. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mayor, if I may,
So moved by Councilmember Lehrman.
with an amendment.
Oh, yes, thank you very much, Councilmember
I
Gettle.
make a motion that we approve as written with the exception or with the correction to paragraph 17.20.06 to remove city council in that final review process.
Very good, thank you, Councilmember Gettle. So moved by Councilmember Gettle, seconded by Councilmember Lehrman. Any additional questions on 8.2? Yes?
We just need to do 8.1 as well.
Yeah,
Oh, did
this
I
was-
skip one?
This was 8.2.
Well, we're on 8.2. Have no fear. All right, any additional questions on 8.2? Nope, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Let's go back to 8.1. And do I have a motion to approve 8.1?
So moved.
So moved
Second.
by Councilmember Gettle, seconded by Councilmember Marsh. Any additional questions on 8.1? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That'll take us to item 8.3. Do I have a motion on 8.3? Motion from Vice Mayor Wade. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Marsh. Do I have any additional questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Very good. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. That takes us to the next item, which I think is exciting as well. Item 8.4, this is on fee reductions, and David McLeish will be giving us our presentation. I have 0 speaker cards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be here today. My name is David McLeish. I'm the Recreation Superintendent for the City of Maricopa. I'll be presenting both this item as well as the next item, as they're very closely related. But I'll be talking about our rates policy as well as our rental rate adjustments that we've talked about. Just as a quick overview, Council approved the current facility rentals policy as of November 3rd of 2023. They also approved the current rental fee schedule on December 5th of that same year. And so this is something that we presented earlier this year, and we received some feedback which we've since included. We also received direction from you that you'd like us to take these to committees, and so we've brought these to all of our different committees, and so that's why at this point we're bringing this back to you with that committee feedback as well. Ultimately, some of the goals that we really looked at with these changes was to balance appropriate pricing with utilization rates, increase the utilization of our facilities, increase the number of programs and offerings in the city by fostering growth in the private and nonprofit sector, as well as ensure a financially durable structure. Just a couple of things on the utilization rates. Moving forward, I'll kind of show you some of the data we have on the utilization of our facilities, but just kind of what we're measuring is we're really measuring those more peak times. And so, for example, when we show you the utilization of our fields, we're not including June, July, August, because it's not really relevant data. For the most part, our fields are not used when it's 115 degrees outside for good reason. And so we really looked at those, times that would give us meaningful data. So we'll start off at the Copper Sky Multi-Generational Center. Looking at the Copper Sky rooms, we had a 19%, and just with these, the data is January 1st to October 15th, but we saw 19% utilization, most of that being residents, 97%, and then that was 41% city department, and then 50% private individuals, and then a small portion of nonprofits. On the multi-gen lawn saw 7% utilization, and that's that turf area right outside of the Copper Sky rooms, right next to the aquatic center there. The Maricopa Cultural Center, which is attached to the library, had a 17% utilization. That had a 94% of residents, 42% of that was the city department, 47% being private individuals, and again, some nonprofit and local businesses as well. If we go over to our Copper Sky Regional Park, our ball fields had a 69% utilization, our multi-purpose fields had a 56%, Ramada's 8%, and the Great Lawn 2%. The Great Lawn is really just the area where all our events are at. Maricopa Culture, all those things. 93%, again, residents, 30% were city departments, 40% nonprofits, and 20% private individuals. Going over to Pecana Park, our ball field saw a slight increase in Copper Sky at 73% utilization, 54% for the multi-purpose fields, and 3% for the Ramadas. 21% was local business, 67% was nonprofit, and 7% private individuals. And I also do want to point out these rates are strictly what people reserved and paid for through our system. Obviously, our Ramadas are used much heavier than this, but if all of our facilities are welcome for people to drop in and use daily. So if you go on a Saturday, they're probably all used, but this is really just purely measuring what people actually booked. Over to Lakeview Park utilization, that ball fields had an 81%, and the Ramada had a 1% utilization. And really that's majority is just our nonprofit Little League had a 93% utilization for that. So that's kind of the summary of where we're really at with utilization. I think if and when all of these things are approved, the coming year will give us really relevant data to kind of compare these rates after these changes, and so we look forward to the coming year to be able to kind of compare. But just a quick overview of some of the rate changes we're looking at. We're looking at reduced room rates, reduced court rates, as well as reduced open space rates. And so with this, how it reads is a red indicates an increase in fee, green is a decrease, gray is no change, and blue is really what's currently there. And you'll see as I go through this, there's absolutely no red. We're not seeing any increases. We're really looking at a decrease to really help out our residents who are paying for these through their taxes, as well as nonprofits, local businesses, things like that. So some of the things we're looking at is a slight decrease in our court rate. As we did some basic research, we found that courts tend to be slightly lower than fields, and so that's why we did a slight adjustment there in comparison to other cities. We also saw a pretty big decrease for the multi-gen lawn, and so for the local business and base rate that we're proposing from $100 an hour to $85 an hour, from $65 an hour down to $55 for the resident and nonprofits. And the split between the local business rate as the base rate and then the discount of the resident nonprofit, as well as the increase for the non-resident, that's all been established in the policy as well. And so then if we jump over to the Great Lawn, which is again really the event space, we've proposed the base rate from $200 an hour down to $165 an hour, and so that would go for the resident nonprofits from $130 down to $107. And we also are looking at a slight reduction for the group Ramada, which is just the larger Ramada over at Copper Sky on the lake there. But that's base rate 40 down to 35 and 26 down to 23. Jumping over to our Copper Sky indoor facilities, and those are those two multi-purpose rooms. We've proposed going from a base rate of $65 an hour down to $54 an hour, so an $11 an hour decrease, and from $42 an hour down to $35 for our resident and nonprofits. Our fields are really so full is, again, why we're not really seeing a change there. They're also extremely low in comparison to other cities, but the court saw a similar reduction as what Copper Sky saw, so that's why you're seeing a slight reduction on the courts over there.
Can I ask questions?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Is there data on court usage rates?
So our courts, largely, we didn't really include that in our measurement because we've so limited our court rentals on select dates, and so right now it's really a local league that's using, and then we have some schools that use our tennis courts, but largely almost all of it is drop-in play, and so we're really not I mean, we can pull that data, but we really weren't focused on it because we've narrowed that to such specific times. But we're looking at expanding some of our pickleball courts over at Copper Sky. And I think with that expansion and more available space, I think we'll open it up more to those reservations. And so I think probably next year will be a lot more relevant to kind of show, hey, when's available to rent and what's that usage at. But if you go there, all our courts are mostly full all the time, again, from really that drop-in play. If we go over to the Library and Culture Center rooms, we've proposed a lowering of every single one of those rooms. And so for the Redwood A and B, we've proposed from 130 of a base rate down to 108. And that would go for resident nonprofits from 85 down to 70. And then the individual Redwood A and B are very similar to the Copper Sky room, so you see a mirror in those rates as well. The Pine and Maple rooms, we've proposed from $35 an hour down to $30. And so for the resident nonprofits, that would go from $23 an hour to $20. And then for the library amphitheater, that we've proposed from $100 down to $80 and $65 down to $52. And the atrium from $200 to $175 and $130 to $114. And I also do want to mention where we are looking at with these reductions. Our current rates are already lower than what we see in most cities. And so when we look at, market rate, our facility rates are actually already below that. So really these changes are a reflection of, hey, we really want to help our residents in a big way, and we really want to focus on increasing that utilization. And so these are even a further reduction, more than, the low prices that they already are compared to other cities. And then going over to the community center, the main room, we're proposing from 100 down to 85, 65 to 55, and then the large conference room from 50 to 40 and 33 to 26. And then for the small conference room from 25 to 20 and 16 down to 13. So that concludes all of the proposed rate adjustments. And so from here on out, I'll kind of go through the policy and some of the recommendations we're looking at on that.
Could we stop for questions first, please? Questions, comments? I know that this definitely meets what we originally had indicated we wanted you to evaluate and look at. But next year, I'd be interested in knowing what the usage, like how did it compare to last year to this year? And Councilmember Manfredi, did you have comments as well?
I can continue,
Oh.
and then I'll.
Oh, okay, perfect, okay.
Sorry,
All
I
right,
was
anyone
telling you.
else have questions at this point? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm curious for next year.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Awesome.
please continue, David.
So we've included some proposed revisions to our policy, and all of really the basis, hey, how can we increase usage? And as we as a city grow, how can we make things consistent? And how can we prepare for that growth as we see more organizations pop up, as we see more competition for our limited space that we have? And so these proposals for a youth and adult recreation league, and we've defined that as really an organization that offers a sport league for youth that doesn't involve tryouts, monthly dues, invitations, recruiting on the basis of talent or ability, which would exclude youth community members. And so exclusion of members of the community would essentially disqualify an organization from these discounts. And these leagues must have at least 75% Maricopa residents. And so the discount for these types of organizations, we propose 50% off of the lowest established rate. And just an example of that, we currently have an agreement with Little League, and that's a similar rate that we offer them. But obviously, again, as we as a city grow, we start to see more organizations. We want to be prepared and really have a process in place that we can kind of foster all those organizations. Excuse me. And you see similar types of things like this in other cities. For example, Gilbert has a youth coalition that different nonprofit organizations are part of. They get a discounted rate. This is, I think, an easier to establish administratively, while still preparing again for the growth of the city. Another addition that we're proposing is non-resident business that does not have a local address may qualify for the local business rate if their reservation serves the local population through programming that serves at least 75% Maricopa residents. We've defined that as really just organized recreational activities that are designed to promote physical, social, and emotional well-being by engaging in sports, arts, classes, fitness, crafts, special events, workshops, education, and other leisure pursuits. Just a quick example of what that's designed to do. We had an organization named BEST, very common organization that's in a lot of different cities. They offer really basic programming that's really affordable to kids. It's really meant to be kind of introductory camps, soccer and things like that. Ultimately, they're not necessarily a nonprofit, and their business address doesn't lie with the city, and so they'd be subject to our non-resident rate, which again is 200%, which can potentially be inhibitive, but ultimately, for us, if they are providing programming specifically to our residents, we want to be able to, further facilitate that. And so we want to really attract those businesses that could provide, programming to our residents. Another addition we're looking at is relating to sports tourism and our outside tournaments. But we say the highest priority of the city is to provide space for local residents. However, the city recognizes the positive economic impact of large tournaments. Thus, tournaments of a certain significant size determined in the allocation guide may qualify for the base rate as opposed to the non-resident rate. And so tournaments will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis with the goal to balance local play with attracting out-of-town visitors and revenue. And so again, that non-resident rate that's 200% may be cost prohibitive and may drive potential tournaments to other cities. But again, these large tournaments, they serve the city through an influx of dollars to our local businesses and through that economic development. So we want to have essentially a marketing tool to attract these tournaments and to really expand our tournaments that we have. This was, when we presented this originally to council, this is actually an addition to that based on your guys' feedback. And so we've added an additional discount for off-peak hours. And so these are hours when demand is really typically lower due to fewer people. And so we've defined that to be available for that discount to apply to indoor room reservations Monday to Friday from facility opening to 4 p.m. Unless otherwise designated by staff. And we want to be a little bit flexible with this because obviously we kind of know where we are right now and where our lower usage is, but as we push this out based on approval and as we market it more and as we see a little bit more demand, maybe we'll find that we start having an increase of demand a little bit earlier, and so we want to have a little bit of flexibility to, shorten that 4 p.m. or expand it just depending on need. And so for that discount, we'd be looking at a 20% discount on top of the lowering of rates that we're looking at. This is another addition that we've since added since when we first presented this, is really more of a marketing tool. But staff may establish periodical promotional discounts, increase usage of the facilities at staff discretion. Quick, easy example of this, we could say, hey, for the month of March, if you book with us at Copper Sky or the library or wherever, and your booking could be in June, July, whenever, but hey, if you book with us this month, we'll give you an additional 20% off or whatever. And so this just allows us to be a little bit nimble to really increase that utilization and obviously free up the administrative time of not having to go to council every time we want to do some sort of promotional discount. Another addition, when we presented this last, it seemed like there was a desire from council to see a little bit more detailed marketing plan, and so we've included some ideas. And this isn't necessarily a hard plan. Obviously, these are a lot of ideas, and we're really going to work over the next year to, as we implement these new rates and new policies, to really see what we can do to increase utilization. Some things, obviously, advertise the reduced rates. Increase signage throughout our facilities, dedicated to minimum monthly post to rentals, email blasts, reservations in our newsletter, social media boosts, introducing those targeted discounts. We're also creating a facility booking brochure for facilities across the city. I think that's going to be more of a tool for residents as kind of a one-stop shop. Hey, I want to book a room, what's available in the city? And so we're looking at, hey, what are availables? Not only just in our city facilities, but really across all facilities that are publicly funded. And so in this small brochure, you might see the school districts or charter schools or, Global Water or the city. And so we really want to make it easy for our residents to know, hey, there's actually tons of space. Here's all your resources. And so it'll just tell people, hey, this is where you go to, MUSD's website or ours or wherever for those facilities as well. Just as a conclusion, when we took these to committees, there was very few concerns. Most of our questions were purely just clarifying questions. There were a couple concerns that were brought up between the three committees. One was, hey, we've seen prices in the past that have potentially priced out some of these nonprofits. So hopefully with these rate changes we propose, we'll see less of that, and it'll help those nonprofits succeed a little bit more. We also heard some feedback again about those tournaments. Hey, when they come in, that non-resident rate is high that could potentially drive out those tournaments. But that concern brought up in the committee was mitigated when we showed that policy change that's going to allow us to attract those tournaments by, if you're a certain size, you're bringing on in that economic development, we can provide you our base rate. And so overall, committees were very favorable, and we're really looking forward to seeing these changes.
I have another question.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor. David, one thing that I don't see in this is the pool. So I'm wondering, are those rates staying the same in terms of pool rental? And then also, would the teams that the mayor just talked about being so amazing qualify as a youth league because they don't have monthly memberships? Would they be able to get a discount?
So all of our pool usage is really separate from these. Because our pool is so limited, we've really limited all pool usage to those organizations that have executed agreements with us. And so all of those organizations, such as the SEALs or MUSD or the other Heritage, all those organizations using our pool have agreements with us. And so those rates are established by agreement, and so it's really completely separate. And so these discounts or even the youth discount rate wouldn't apply because those are governed by a completely different agreement. And so if we were looking at providing a discount to those organizations, we'd have to go look at amendments to those agreements.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, but City Manager, I don't think it's fair that some youth leagues can get discounts and some can't. So I would like us to look into that. It should be, if Little League can get a discount, swim should be able to get a discount. So I would definitely like for us to look at uniform application of our discounts.
Yeah, I think because it's not about revenue, it's about controlling and making sure you have capacity for everything that's going on. Really, that's what it's about, right? And if we already have space for the swim team, then providing that same discount makes logical sense to me as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally agree and understand. I think what we look at is just how we move forward with those agreements, when they expire, and it's really a case-by-case basis as it relates to those expiration dates and what amendment dates may be appropriate. So we'll look into those for sure. Thank you.
Very good.
And just to quickly comment on those rates, for most of our organizations, they're booking by pool lane per hour. Our pool lane per hour in those agreements are one of the lowest in the whole state that I've looked at, and so certainly I think we're always happy to look at things, but I do want to mention when we originally got into those agreements, we found that the hourly rate of the lanes was, again, one of the lowest in the entire state.
When he's done. Yeah, and I think that's great, but also you said our field rentals are low too, and we're giving a discount to folks for that. I don't want Little League or baseball or soccer or swim to have an uneven playing field. If discounts are offered, they should be offered uniformly.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate goal as we're discussing these rates and the rental policy is enhancing utilization. Yeah. So if, for example, we were at full capacity, then we can't book any additional teams, right? Yeah. So it just depends on that utilization and looking at where we can have that capacity for additional opportunities as well, because we can't say yes for one and no for another, because if we provide the opportunity, then we have to provide it for all. And so, as I mentioned, we will look at those and we will look to see what we can do, but until we do that, it's hard to say one way or the other.
Yeah, and to that point, there was no utilization about the pool, so I think that information would be helpful.
Thanks. Just as conclusion, again, the rates that we proposed were reduced room, core, open space, and remodel rental rates. Some of the adjustments to the rates policy, we included a youth and adult league discount rate, language to facilitate more recreational programming, language to facilitate large tournaments, including an off-peak rate, as well as language to offer periodic discounts. Overall, increased facility utilization really help out our local residents and nonprofits, local businesses, facilitate nonprofit growth. Are
Very
there
good.
any
Thank
further
you, David.
questions? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Manfredi?
David, thank you so much. I appreciate staff coming together and putting all this together. I mean, when we spoke last about it, I remember the words, I don't know if they're exact words, but I said I want it to be as free as possible or as cheap as possible. And I do see a lot of changes. The goal of the change is to update the facility rental rates so they're consistent, fair, aligned with current use and market conditions. I noticed that most of the rates in Pecana Park, Copper Sky, Library, Cultural Center, Community Center, Lakeview Park are being reduced, which is what we wanted. Nothing's going up. This includes multipurpose fields, courts, youth fields, indoor rooms, and ramadas. Nothing about the pool yet, but I think we're getting to the point where the school district has to actually build a pool because they're taking up most of the time at the pool. And eventually, with the success at the high school level, the middle schools are going to want to have swim teams, and I mean, it's going to get more and more. So unfortunately, one competitive pool in the city of Maricopa is probably not enough, but the city of Maricopa is probably not going to be building another competitive swim pool in the city, and it's going to fall upon the people using it, I hope, to actually build a pool one day. And the schools should build one, the systems. Pecana and Copper Sky fields dropped from $13 to $8, $18 to $12 per hour, with youth rates reduced as well. Indoor spaces like the Red Room and Redwood rooms, Copper Sky multipurpose rooms also decreased. Larger events such as the Great Lawn stuff, library atrium are seeing a lot of reductions. And I know there's people here that like to put on events, and that's a good thing. We want to have more of those types of events, even at the library as Copper Sky. Resident and nonprofit discounts remained in place, and non-resident rates continue to follow the established tier structure. But there are some cases where we'll be able to give the resident rates for the non-resident as long as they're supporting our residents, right? So if they're coming to the city and they're providing a service that's almost cost-free to residents or very cheap to residents, it's a good thing for us to have lower rates for them. This update improves affordability for families, youth groups, increases access to public spaces, and keeps our pricing competitive while still covering operations, we hope. I hope. What I'd like to see, and I know we didn't discuss, and I'm sorry, it just popped in my head when we talked about off-peak. And so maybe a couple months down the road we can talk more about it, or next year. I'd like to see with these off-peak, if we're doing them for rooms, June, July, and August are bad months for fields. I'd like to see if maybe we have off-peak costs for fields on those times. Because although they're insane, people like to actually play out there when it's 110, 120 degrees. I don't know why, but I know my daughter was out there practicing when she was in sports leagues. So maybe offering a small discount of that 20% on those months. It might even bring in some crazy people from the East Coast who don't even know how hot it is. Just joking, but seriously. You just never know. But so when I look at fees, this is what we wanted. We wanted fees to come down. We wanted people to use the resources we have more and more. And I remember telling the story about I rented the library and 2 sections of the library, and it was like $900 or whatever it was for that one day of rentals. And it was kind of crazy because I was hosting a job fair. And it was a lot of money. But this would bring it down by, I don't know, like 30% or something like that, which is really nice. But I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Manfredi. Additional comments, questions? Yes, Councilmember Lehrman.
Thank you for your work on this, and you must like numbers, so thank you for your talent in that area. Would it be possible for us to get quarterly reports in the next few quarters and kind of see what's changing and?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it simply just takes, putting together the reports and the administrative time with that, but that's not a problem for us to start doing quarterly reports.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be formal. An email report is perfectly fine. Yeah. Additional comments, questions? I have two additional ones. On the specific facility, it looked like you had crossed off the group Ramada, and that seems like a huge asset for big groups, so I'm curious about why we did that.
Yeah, let me go back to that so I can. So that was
that was at
specifically
Pecana,
Pecana.
okay.
Literally, the only reason I did that is because the document that was approved last time had a group Ramada at Pecana. We really don't have a group Ramada
There's
at
like
Pecana.
4 tables under
There's
that
one
one.
that's slightly larger, but we give
Okay.
that the same
Perfect.
cheaper rate, and so the small Ramada counts for
That's a
every
better
Ramada
deal.
at
I love it.
Pecana.
Thank
Yep,
you. I missed
yep.
the Pecana Park. And then second, I had a couple people call me, one called, one text. And I agree with them the way that it was worded in the attachment that went with the agenda item. It looked like, because it used the words that you can't combine discounts. And so that was confusing because you first of all have, let's just use resident discount, and then you have the off-peak discount. So it's my vision that you can combine those, and I just wanted to validate that for those that had that question.
Yeah, so like if you're a resident nonprofit, like the established rate is already 35% discount. We wouldn't consider that a discount. We would just consider, hey, this is the established rate of resident
Perfect.
nonprofits, so they would get 20% off of the rate, those rates.
Perfect.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep. Thank you. I was hoping that's what you were going to say. Any additional comments, questions? Oh, yes, Vice Mayor Wade.
Real quick question. This information, of course, kind of slips out of your control at times. Are you getting any feedback from the community that we're making changes to the prices, and what has been that?
Yeah, so definitely we're always trying to get feedback from people, and so I know you guys really value public input, and so that's one of the reasons why we took that to our committees. And so this is something we presented to each of our committees to really, have that public input, and so really that the public input we've received has been really favorable to these proposed changes. But yeah, certainly us as staff, we're always asking people that use our space, that want to use our space, formally and informally, just, hey, what do you think about our service and everything that way. But certainly we did get that input through going through our advisory committees.
And
David?
Mayor, perhaps I can speak a little bit to that
please.
as well. I serve as the liaison to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, and they were very excited about what they saw. They were very grateful for the reduction in rates. And a couple of the key points that they made that was already brought out here this evening was just how the tournament rates, and then looking for not only just the youth and the adult sport leagues to be able to have a discounted rate come in, provide more of those services to our residents. So they were very excited about that, especially as it's part of our strategic focus is to bring more of that sport tourism into our city. This will help towards that end. So they were very, very appreciative.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. Would you just go back to the Copper Sky slide one last time? Oh, perfect. So the group Ramada there, you did lower the price. I love that. Perfect. Thank you. Any additional comments, questions? All right, let's go to item 8.4. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve by Councilmember Norris, seconded by Vice Mayor Wade. Any additional comments, questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Now do I have a motion for 8.5?
So moved.
So moved by Councilmember, what? Facility rental policy? Okay, so moved by
To
Councilmember Gatto. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Noor. Any additional comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, David. All right. Everyone doing okay? All right. So, do we have a little bit of a presentation?
Rock you.
All right, Rocky, I love that. This is item 8.6 on the field house.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Rocky Brown, Parks and Recreation. Exciting opportunity tonight. We have a new amenity coming on town. We've affectionately been calling it the Copper Sky Field House, but tonight is your chance to officially name it and put a mark on the city. So a little bit about the field house. Just for reminders, so it is going to house 4 indoor basketball courts, full size. It can also be reconfigured to house 6 indoor volleyball courts, or for our pickleball fanatics, we can have 12 indoor pickleball courts. There's also going to be additional restroom facilities, a flex space set up kind of like a classroom that's going to be available for rentals. There's a tournament lobby and a desk, and we are right now slated to open it in July 2026. This space is really kind of a reimagining of the old Copper Sky substation with an addition for this large gymnasium. You can see kind of a rendering here. Right now we've got a placeholder name on there, but we're excited to come up with an official name so that way we can work on some signage and some branding for the facility. Another angle, this is on the southeast or southwest side. This is also kind of cool because it shows where the Veterans Memorial has been set up recently, and you can kind of see the synergy between the two spaces. Just another rendering. We're excited about putting the Maricopa M branding on it and just kind of making it a focal point because we're going to have a lot of visitors from outside of the community, so we want to just highlight Maricopa and all that we have to offer. And just an idea of what the inside will look like. So I mentioned 4 indoor basketball courts, so they can be 4 individual spaces with those roll-up riser divider screens, or it can open up into one large space for bigger events and things like that. Also air conditioned, so year-round use, which is great for the desert.
Rocky, on that picture there, I have always been curious about how many people can be seated because my grandkids are all in sports and tournaments galore, so I was curious how big ours was going to be in comparison for viewing.
Yeah, so Mayor, great question. So there are going to be bleachers on each side. One is going to be static on the south side. The north side is going to be removable. And we actually have bleachers that we can roll in and out of because we have plenty of storage and put between the courts. So we're also anticipating bringing in 500 chairs so we can host 500, 600 people pretty easily, depending on the activity. But when you go out there, if you've been by Copper Sky lately, the beams have started going up and the roof and the block, and you go stand on the slab and it's large.
It's impressive.
It's very impressive, and it's going to be able to host a lot of neat things. So we have some potential names to think about that we put in there. Right now, we've been referring to it as the Copper Sky Field House. It's just like a CIP placeholder. Another option would be the Copper Sky Sports Complex. A third option, Courts at Copper Sky. Or a fourth option, the Copper Sky Sports Hall. Or it could be any combination or an alternative. We'd just love to hear what the council thinks.
Where did you get the names that are presented?
It was actually quite a bit of brainstorming in the staff, maybe a little ChatGPT. We ran it through staff meetings. We talked about it at the last Parks Board meeting, done a lot of straw polls. We had a really long list of like 20 names, and some of them just didn't feel right, so we just kind of condensed it to the main ones that were kind of gaining a lot of popularity when we talked to people internally and externally.
How much time was spent with the community input? Did the community have any input?
We, Mayor, Vice Mayor, we did not go out and do a public ask with the community for this. We just came up with these names pretty much internally because we already had the Copper Sky name, so we're just kind of finding something that kind of went with the Copper Sky Regional Park name.
Because somebody's going to ask me that question. I want to make sure I know. I got your phone number already, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, additional comments, questions? Yes, Councilmember Marsh?
I'm really glad, Rocky, that you're not naming it for some dead person. This is a living, breathing building. It's going to be very active, very alive for the coming century. And I really like the name Copper Sky Fieldhouse.
All right. Okay. Additional comments, questions? Yes, Councilmember Noor.
I would just, can you go back a couple slides? Keep going back. When it says what it's going to have in it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes, that. So I struggle with this because it says we're going to have courts, and it's going to have courts, and it's going to have courts, and then we're calling it a field house. And those two are not the same. Fields and courts are very different. And so I'm concerned that we're giving the wrong impression by naming it a field house when it's going to have courts.
Well, we already have a courthouse.
That's a good one.
That was a good one.
Councilman Myers, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
That's a
It's
good
almost
one.
like he was ready for
He
that.
was. So that's what I struggle with. I don't think we should name it the courthouse either, though, because we do already have one. It's beautiful. But I just wanted to point that out. Now we can go back to your proposed names, because I think those are helpful for discussion purposes. And I'm interested in what other people have to say. Courts, field house.
There's no field.
There's no field.
There's no field. Can you describe a little bit more the flex space, room space capacity? How many people does it hold, the square footage?
Yeah, Mayor and council members, so it is basically the old kind of conference room that it had as a police substation. We used to do like tabletop exercises in there. I think you could comfortably fit with tables and chairs about 30 people.
Okay.
It's got a kitchenette set up, but that's why it's pretty flexible. It could be used for a meeting, or if like a tournament promoter had trophies or something they wanted to store in there.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I'll just share, I would like to thank staff and community members who did reach out and share their opinion. I think it was very helpful. It helped me a lot. I will say that about half of the people that I spoke to had never heard the term field house in their life. I'm one of them. I grew up in California and I live in Arizona. So it's not a common West Coast term. It's really more of a Midwest term, because in the Midwest, the weather doesn't, it's not conducive to year-round field play. So they build houses for fields. Soccer fields, lacrosse, football fields are indoor. But on the West Coast, we don't need to do that. So a field house on the West Coast is pretty uncommon. It does happen. There's a few, but not a lot. I have a huge issue with the functionality. I think if we're using this as a tourism destination, and that's one of the big pieces of this, is we want tournaments, we want regional people, coming to our area, and we're telling them we have a field house, and they show up and there is no field. It's all courts. I think that's not functional at all, and I think it sends the wrong message to our community members. One of the people that serve on Parks and Rec Committee said, well, what are we going to name the field house when we do build a field house? Because I would like to propose tonight that we add to our 10-year plan the plan to build a field house, which is a house with a field in it. I think that would be amazing. So I'd like to save the name field house for when we actually do build a field house. And the names that I liked is a few of them. Also just a couple comments that I heard is, a few people don't like the word complex because complex is used indoor, outdoor, and it could cause some confusion. I also heard from community members they don't really favor the term center because it's very vague and non-descriptive, and it could be anything. And so more of a descriptive name. So the names that I favor are Copper Sky Sports Courts or Indoor Sports at Copper Sky. This is a good one, Maricopa Athletic Courts at Copper Sky, and it could be called the MAC. And if you have the big M on there, Maricopa Athletic Courts, it actually describes what the facility is. It's athletic courts in Maricopa at Copper Sky. So I really think we need to preserve the functionality of the name. And I might have a few more comments, but that's my start. The MAC.
Okay, very good. Additional comments, questions? Suggestions? Yes, Councilmember Manfredi.
You know me well enough that I was not confused, but I wanted to get more input from the community. So over the last 4 days, I guess it's been, or 3 days, I've been on social media and I posted out there what a field house is. I asked tons and tons of people to give me their suggestions. We're not going to call it the Mayor Price Field House. I don't care how many times people say it. That's a joke, by the way. Somebody posted it. A field house to me is, and normally, right, a field house defined as A field house is an indoor sports and recreation facility, usually large open building designed to support multi-athletic uses under one roof. Cities, schools, universities have them because they allow year-round activities in a controlled environment. Typically in a field house is not a football field or something like that, or a soccer field. It's indoor courts for basketball, volleyball, pickleball, or foosball. I don't know what that is. Futsal or football, I don't know. Foosball? What's foosball? Oh, that's that indoor
Futsal
soccer.
is indoor soccer.
Futsal, yeah. They can have turf fields for soccer and football practice, but normally that's on the college level when they're in the cold zones and whatever. Running tracks for indoor walking, that doesn't have it here. Training rooms, but what's important to me here is that if we go back again in our stuff here, it's a big, huge room, and if you can scroll backwards to the uses, the fifth use is not a court, but flex space available for rental. So let's say Sequoia Pathway or one of the charter schools, when they start growing more and more and they need places to have their graduations, it's not sports happening there, but it's stuff, right? Not only that, the mayor might do a State of the City there or something. We have 500 chairs on order for it. I know in Copper Sky, we just had a dinner or lunch for Thanksgiving, right? And we do these kinds of things and different parties and celebrations and award ceremonies. And these all happen in the Copper Sky gym now. So it's not just sports, it's gonna do more and more things. So it's multi-use rooms for classes, camps, meetings. I think they had a pretty cool Zumba thing, which is pretty cool, but it's not a court. It was just, they did that, I think, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, I think it was. Don't ask me, I don't Zumba, so I don't even know what Zumba is. But it should also have spectator seating and stuff like that. It's a flexible indoor sports complex that supports both organized athletics and general community recreation. So if we want maximum clarity for residents, the simplest choice, I believe, and I think the mayor mentioned it to me, I thought it was Copper Sky Fieldhouse. I did, because it's just what it is. Nobody knew what a multi-generational center was really before we made Copper Sky Multi-Generational Center. And it became, everybody knew what it was. And when you hear multi-generational center, do you think the basketball? I don't know. But we can make Fieldhouse synonymous with anything we want. So if we want maximum clarity, Copper Sky Fieldhouse is pretty good. I think the Fieldhouse at Copper Sky works too, right? Because it connects it to Copper Sky. It connects directly to the existing Copper Sky name, which we've spent tons of money marketing and making sure people around the state as well as the country, because during COVID, there was tons of people coming here using our facilities at Copper Sky. It basically just makes it part of the Copper Sky sports complex that already exists, and that's the whole thing, right? So for me, clean and clear options are Copper Sky Fieldhouse at Copper Sky. You could call it this Copper Sky Sports Fieldhouse or Indoor Fieldhouse. More descriptive stuff is, like you mentioned, Copper Sky Sports Center or Athletic Center or Indoor Sports Center. But I keep going back to the fact that we want it to be used for more than just courts, right? So courts, we shouldn't put in the name, because I know one of the first people that wants to use it wants to bring a statewide karate or jujitsu, I don't know the difference. Something doing this, right? Wants to bring one of those to the city of Maricopa, and it's one of the first options they want to bring.
It's Taekwondo, and Lee Felix would not be happy if you called it jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I don't know the difference. I don't know the difference, but
Taekwondo.
It's something that's really cool, and kids are going to do it, and adults are going to do it, and it's going to bring people from outside the city. So it's not going to be using a court. So I don't know.
And I think from him, he said the field house at Copper Sky was what he's been calling it.
Oh yeah, he's already been marketing it, he said, for next year as the field house at Copper
matters,
Sky.
but I'm just putting that out.
But in some of the comments I saw, a lot of it was, who cares what the name is? This is probably the greatest thing that's going to be added to the city over the next couple of years. I disagree. I think 347 extra lanes is better. But I think it's going to be a great addition to the city. And the name, it doesn't matter as much. But I kind of like the field house at Copper Sky. But up to you guys.
Additional comments? Yes, Councilmember Marsh.
Yeah, I think we ought to name it something that enables maximum future flexibility. I mean, pickleball came on the scene 60 years ago, and it's grown to be a big deal. Who knows what the next 25, 50 years is going to bring. And I think just something simple like Copper Sky Fieldhouse tags it. It's short. It'll save ink. I don't know, you got more ink in the bag? I just vote for Copper Sky Fieldhouse.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gettle?
Yeah, I think what we decide tonight will be important to consider, but perhaps harkening back to our Viking roots, which we have absolutely none here in the city, we can call it the Great Hall at Copper Sky and get away with it. No, I concur. I think the Copper Sky Fieldhouse would be a fitting name. But
Very good. Just a couple thoughts from my perspective. I didn't mean to miss you. Okay. A couple of thoughts from my perspective. Some of you might know I was just in Indiana. It's freezing cold there. I don't know who chooses to live there, but they do. Anyway, I'm just throwing this out as creative thinking. We drove past the Ameriplex. I'm like, the Ameriplex, using the word plex. How about Copaplex? No, I'm really just kidding. I don't really like any of those, but there's a variety of things that you can call a big open building, Ameriplex. It doesn't really tell you exactly if there's courts or a field or, when I've gone through and listened, actually listened to people and then read some of the comments on Councilmember Manfredi's post, people talked about not knowing what a field house was. I think that's a valid point. But when I started to ponder this, I'm like, nobody knew what Agritopia was over in Gilbert. Like, what the heck is Agritopia? But now it's a destination. People go there for the restaurants. People go there to live there because it's Agritopia and they now understand what it is. We want to be a destination city, and I feel like we have to have something that defines this place as something different than what every other city has. And when I see, if you go to that last slide, when I see complex, when I see the word hall, when I see, I guess those are the only two word courts at Copper Sky, I don't see anything that makes it stand out. So I too like the field house at Copper Sky. Now, I want to be cautious. Someone shared with me that the acronym, and I don't understand this, to be honest, I'm totally innocent on this. The acronym may not be good in terms of field house at Copper Sky. Do you guys get that? Like if it's misconstrued or misspoken? So I don't know if you put a T in front of it, the field house at Copper Sky. But if that's concerning to people, I then would go back to Copper Sky Fieldhouse. So I just think it makes it unique and different. Yes, Councilmember Knorr.
I just got a recommendation from a community member that I think, based on all of this discussion, is actually pretty interesting, and it is Champion Center at Copper Sky. And I think that is neat, Champion Center at Copper Sky, because you can be a champion of any sport. You can also be a champion if you're graduating. It doesn't limit it to a certain court or field or anything in particular, but it does give that athletic kind of, naming, because it will be mostly athletic, but it doesn't strictly keep us to athletics. And there's no acronym issues. So I think it's something that I just wanted to throw it out there because I just got it, and I was like, wow, Champion Center at Copper Sky. That sounds cool. Like Champion Center at Copper Sky. I don't know. I really like that one.
Vice Mayor?
So that's all a very good discussion. I think for me personally, the Copper Sky Fieldhouse says what it is, where it is, and where it came from. The idea of copper being something that is special to us, that it is allowing for more activity from the youth and the adults that will perform on the complexes, on the fields or in the courts, And it just comes across as a more encouraging place because it offers the amount of activities that we allow in there one time. I am curious though, and this is way out there for a second. Was there ever a consideration for a pool to be placed there or somewhere near?
No.
Mayor and council, no, I don't believe there's ever consideration for a pool at the Fieldhouse Center. When
Is it something that would be possible?
No.
Anything's possible, right? Yeah, no, that would be good. For convenience, if pool was a desire, I think maybe locating it closer to the existing pool facility would be more beneficial, because you could, like for instance, if you wanted to teach swimming lessons to a bunch of different kids, it'd be nice to have pools located by each other than spread out over a complex, just for, supervisory items and things like that. So that's something we could look
I
at.
had to ask the question. Thank you. Appreciate it, Rocky.
Thank you. Okay, lots of great discussion. Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept Copper Sky Fieldhouse.
Motion to accept Copper Sky Fieldhouse. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Marsh. Any further conversation, discussion?
Yeah, Henry, Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. Would you be amendable to doing it the field house at Copper Sky instead of just Copper Sky Fieldhouse?
I would. I actually wanted to do that, to include that.
What was that?
I had actually wanted to include but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
So do you want to
Well,
amend your
maybe, yeah,
motion?
I'll amend the motion
To what?
to the Copper Sky, to the field house at Copper Sky.
To the Fieldhouse at Copper Sky.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, do I have a second for the Fieldhouse at Copper Sky?
Sure, I'll second.
Having a second. Any conversation? Any concern about the point that was made to me?
What does
I don't know.
FHCS mean?
I don't know
I don't
either.
know. Does somebody know? Are we doing something wrong there?
The youth
Come
will
on.
decide what it means.
The youth will 6,
Is that like
7.
6, 7
Yeah.
or something? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't even know what that means. I'm still trying to figure that out. We hosted a bunch of middle schoolers and we heard 6, 7 so much, I had no idea what it means.
All right, so no concern about the acronym,
It won't last long.
okay?
Akron won't last long.
Councilmember Lehrman, did you have a thought? No concern from me for the,
Or we can just go field house at Copper Sky.
I think that's scarier to me, because I can't figure out what this,
But nobody knows what it is.
Come on, let's go back to Copper Sky Fieldhouse.
anyway, I have a motion and a second for the Fieldhouse at Copper Sky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
All right, so it passes on a 4-3. The Fieldhouse at Copper Sky. All right, that was probably the hardest thing of the night.
That's our split vote. We haven't had those in a long time.
I know it. All right, thank you, Rocky. All right, that'll take us to item 8.7.
And Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to adjourn into executive session for legal counsel.
Okay, I have a motion to move into E-session for item 8.7. Do I have a second?
No.
I'll second it. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move into E-session and we will be back. We'll re-adjourn. Councilmember Nora, will you bring us back into regular session, or adjourn the E-session and bring us back into regular?
Yes. Well, we adjourned in there, right? So motion to go back into regular session.
I think that's sufficient. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I have a motion to go back into regular session. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Lehrman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. That takes us to item, got to make sure I'm back on the right one, 8.7. We have a presentation by Jennifer.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you so much. So the next two items are related, so I'll give a brief overview and then we'll get into the details of each one. So we hired, it's been almost a year now, a third party, Gallagher Incorporated, to conduct a classification and compensation study for all city employees to look at total compensation, so including salary and benefits, as well as how our salary structure is put together, FLSA, making sure we're following FLSA guidelines, who's exempt, who's not exempt, all those details. That such study has now been completed. As we did that last year, also in the current budget year, so the council approved 25-26 fiscal year, we included compensation adjustments to be able to take recommendations that are made through the study and be able to make any compensation adjustments that might be necessary for staff. So this first item, 8.7, is to clarify who those salary adjustments or compensation adjustments are for. And so we have lots of different employee groups, part-time employees, contract employees, full-time employees. The contract ones are employees like the judge or the city manager, and then mayor and council members. So the question before you is just, we're asking for clarification of what groups you intended for those budgeted compensation adjustments to cover for. So. Leave
Thank
that with
you,
you for the
Jennifer.
first one, yeah.
So I do have one potential speaker card on this item, 8.7. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, 8.7. Peg Chapados, are you wanting to speak, or would you prefer to wait? I prefer to wait. Okay, very good. Council members, what questions do you have? Yes,
If I may, Mayor. Thank you very much. First of all, Jennifer, thank you very much for the attempt here to be very transparent with the study. It's been long in coming. We've waited for almost a year now, as you mentioned, to be able to see the results of this. And again, thank you for also looking after our team, our staff. They put in tremendous work. They do a great job, and they need to be compensated for their time, and it needs to be at the market value or market rate, if not above. And so this study is very important to see where we are. And I know the study is not exactly on the agenda tonight, but I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and the staff to determine where we are. It was never the intention when, at least for me, as we made that vote to approve the study to take place in the first place, for any type of a consideration for council's raise or compensation. And so just to make sure that that's fully out there and transparent, this is about staff, and this is about the contract employees that exclude the city council and mayor from that conversation. We want to make sure that they're compensated well for what they're doing. So I just want to kind of make that as a point of why we're considering this here tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Gatto. Councilmember Manfredi?
To echo what Councilman, I'm still chewing the candy, I'm sorry. To echo what Councilman Guerrero just said, I don't think anybody on the council was looking to make a pay raise for council. No one. So it was good that we were able to bring this forward, because in reality, we didn't need to. It could have just been administratively taken care of. Everybody got a raise, and nobody would know the difference unless you looked at your paycheck and saw it. So the reality is, when it's brought to us, we're able to look at it and say, yeah, we should give our staff raises. We should give our contract employees raises. We should look at, not raises, but increases, sorry. We should do all that, but let's exclude council. So that's a good thing. And we have that ability to do so. So I think.
Thank you. Councilmember Marsh.
You know, part of the job of compensation management is adjusting for things like inflation. And our country has undergone exorbitant inflation in the last N months, years, and the tariffs aren't helping. So I think this is in the right direction. I think our heads are in the right direction. And I like the way council's thinking on this.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Marsh. Vice Mayor Wade.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe that what we do is be held accountable to the community that we serve. And so I don't believe that anybody, at least not in the people that I work with here and my fellow council members, have any intention of doing anything that would be inappropriate or not responsible for our citizens. So that's my point of view.
Thank you very much. So, Councilmember Nori, do you want to wait, or do you have anything to say at this point before a motion?
Yes, I just have a couple questions for Jennifer. One, when is the compensation Gallagher report going to be available to the public?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. And then along those lines, the comparable cities that were, I just got the report on Wednesday night, and obviously it was Thanksgiving weekend, but I did read all 80 pages. And the comparable cities that were used, for future reference, I think those need to be made available for our MOU discussions, because we shouldn't use one set of comparables for the rest of city staff and the other for MOU employees. I think that's an unlevel playing field. So I just wanted to make that point because I think it's a huge distinction. And I've obviously been on a level playing field role tonight, but I do believe that that's important distinction that we need to make as we move forward. So I just wanted to get on record for that.
Very good. Councilmember Lehrman, any comments? Councilmember Wade, you already gave your, okay, perfect. Yes, do you have additional comments?
I fully agree. We should include like Globe and such in our MOU studies and compare those salaries. That's a good idea. Unfortunately, the MOU folks, the people in the MOU have to agree to that too. And they usually pick the cities in which they want to be, not picked by hand, like only, we get a choice and say in it too, but they get to choose the cities that are part of the MOU process because they see them as comparable to the salaries they want to get. So when you look at it, they come to us with it too. So they have to agree to some of that. It's part of the conversation that we have.
I'm sure they would love using Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler. I don't think they're going to have any issues with that. And that was used in this study, so.
Understood, but for
Yeah.
Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler, there's Globe, Gila Bend, and
Well, Globe, Gila Bend were not used in this study. I have the list. It's in the report if you read it.
so
Yeah.
you have to look at it. There has to be a discussion about it with the folks in the MOU.
Yeah, I agree, but I want to make it public so that the folks in the MOU understand that they have cities like Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler to be used as comparables, because that's what we used for the rest of staff.
Okay?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Additional comments, questions? I see things slightly different. I think every time MOUs come forward, we're working hard to understand what's important and what raises are important and what benefits are important. And I've indicated every year, I'm going to fight hard for the everyday staff member, make sure that we're doing the same amount of work, same amount of study, same amount of benefits, and looking at it in a fair perspective and making sure that just like we want our MOU employees to be premier, we want our everyday staff to be premier as well. And if you're not offering a competitive salary to them, then we're not doing them justice. And I promise to fight for them, and I will continue to fight for them. So I see it slightly different. I feel like both processes have proven out significant evidence in terms of increases, and I think I'm very content with where we ended up in regards to both pieces of our employee pool.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, I don't not think that our everyday staff deserve to be compensated fairly. I just think that our first responders who are putting their lives on the line for us every day, the policemen and the firefighters that are in the MOU, deserve to have the same comparable cities as our regular staff. It's like, you can't say all staff gets to compare to Scottsdale, Tempe, and Chandler, except our firefighters and police. You only get to compare to Marana, Superstition Springs, Surprise, I don't know, the ones that are like size.
Are you talking MOUs? Because
Yes.
it was Queen Creek, and Queen Creek is one of the highest paying salaries in terms of public safety in the state. And so you talk about Scottsdale, Tempe, I mean, we can go on and on and on about this, but I'm just saying that I feel as though the compensation studies in both pools were very rewarding and very fair to ensure that we have premier employees in both cases. And by the way, I do understand they risk their lives, but we have other jobs that risk their lives as well. I mean, we don't have lumberjacks, but lumberjacks are one of the most dangerous jobs in the nation, in the world. And so I want to be careful that we're not always assuming that the public safety is the most dangerous when there are other I mean, it's hard to be
Is there
out.
another job in the city more dangerous than the policeman?
Have you been out on on our roads when people are driving crazy and they're out there trying to improve our roads? Yeah. I mean, well, you can make a face, but
I think the discussion is not actually needed right now, in that we can have a discussion about MOUs in the future, but I can ask exactly how much of an increase the MOU MOU employees received this year, which is 9? Huh?
Yeah, it depends on fire or police. I think 9.2 to 9.4.
9.2, 9 point whatever it was. And the staff is going to be getting about a 5% out of this, I think it is.
No, 9 total.
Right, and they have a 4% increase that happened earlier in the year as a raise, and then so it basically evens out where they're all getting about 9% in total.
for year one.
Yeah, and, well, yeah, because police and MOU employees are getting another 9% next year, where in the MOU they are, and in staff won't, because we're not doing another compensation study next year. We probably won't do one for another 5, 7, 10 years, who knows? The last time we did it, I think, was 2017. Yeah. And remember, this is simply looking at where we are as a city and where we fell behind on inflationary measures and being able to keep up with rates of pay that other people are getting. MOUs are actually negotiated right now every 2 years. We used to have 3 and 5, I think it was. I think we had a 5 once. But we're renegotiating MOUs every 2 years. So when we renegotiate an MOU in 2 years, let's bring to that MOU negotiation the ability to add different cities. But it's not part of this conversation.
No, but I do think it's important to note that we use different comparables, and I think it would have been ideal if we would have included police officers and firefighters and the MOU positions in this study just to know where they compared along with the rest of the employees. I think excluding an employee group from a study is not okay. I don't think we should have excluded them from the study.
Right.
I think that everyone should have been studied equally. That's all I'm saying.
But MOU employee groups negotiate their pay raise with us.
And this would have been more data for us to have going forward. It couldn't have hurt. It can't hurt to have more data.
And if it showed less?
Then it showed less. I mean, don't be afraid of the numbers.
I think the timing for the two were just completely different. But I understand your point, and it's something to look for in the future.
Yeah, in the future, I hope we study all the employee groups, not just everybody but police and fire.
Any additional comments, questions? Do I have a motion?
I would like to motion that we clarify that the annual budget discussion on compensation adjustments was intended to include all employee groups, including those with a contract, but not council.
Very good.
And does that include the mayor and vice mayor position in council?
Yes.
Yes. Just to clarify, because there are 2 separate groups.
I'd second the motion.
And we have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, Peg. I'm sorry, take that back. We have a motion and a second, we'll come back to it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to approach this from two different perspectives. The first one is timing. We can spend almost 2 hours in a special meeting talking about a proposed $125 million park. We've spent less than 20 minutes talking about compensation across the board and leaving out two major groups. The other thing is I'd like to see if you guys would be willing to approach this in a term that we're all familiar with, but in a new context. I'm talking about DEI, discussion, evaluation, and input. None of us have been able to have a public records request to see this study, so I don't know where anybody falls. I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking about. I don't know where the starting points was for the two groups that are in the MOU. Were they behind the 8 ball to start with? And even if they got a raise, are they still behind the 8 ball in a comparable city? I agree with what Councilmember Norr said, that all the comparable cities should be on an even playing field. Mayor, I agree with you too, that there are a lot of dangerous jobs, but these two groups work 24/7, 365. When most of us are running away from this stuff, they're running towards it. I was recently in a position where I was able to talk to a retired firefighter. There are more deaths from suicide in public safety right now than from line of duty deaths. That's a scary thing. And if we're going to ask these people to put themselves in harm's way, and it's not just the officers, it's their families, it's their friends, it's their city, it's their residents. The other thing, and I've heard every one of you mention this in the last couple of years, we don't do evaluations anymore. I would like to see council be true to the comments that you've made from this dais and at least bring back evaluations for your 3 contracted employees. I think it's important. Me as a voter, me as a taxpayer, and me as a former person that sat up there amongst you, I want to know what my staff is doing. I want to know what the results are. I think the other thing, we can't talk about compensation until we also talk about efficiency and that we're delivering the best services we can. I had an experience recently that I participated in the MAG Transit study, and several conversations identified that we're not serving our senior population with transportation needs because we've got one person doing the job of probably 2 or 3. I think you need to build that into the equation. This isn't just about compensation. We have an amazing staff, and you've heard me say this from the dais and from the microphone. We have amazing people here that go above and beyond for our residents. But without some quantifiable data, I don't understand where you're coming from. I want to make sure that everybody is on a playing field. It's wonderful that I can do a public records request tonight for a report that'll be due tomorrow. But this is exactly why you should have work sessions or at least additional presentations at council so your public sees where their tax dollars are going. The other issue is recruitment and retention. And let's talk about succession planning. If you've got somebody that's already behind the 8 ball or not comparable market-wise, how are we ever going to recruit the people to stay here once we get them here and get them trained, keep them here until they're ready to retire? And forget succession planning. Who wants to step up to a job where they have to take a cut in pay compared to somebody of a lesser rank with a lot less responsibilities?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, I appreciate that. Any additional comments based on the speaker card? Very good. I'm pondering. I'm sorry.
Ponder away.
It's a lot to ponder because we want to keep focus on what this agenda item is. This agenda item was meant to be transparent in terms of who all this compensation adjustment goes to. And so a lot that was discussed is outside of this particular agenda item. And we want to be cognizant of what the purview of the city manager is compared to that of city council. Salary adjustments are always part of the city manager's purview, and how the study is handled is a matter of the city manager's purview. We approve the budget. We know how much we feel comfortable in terms of designating toward a compensation study, increases in the future. That's under our purview. So I just want to be careful that we're mixing a lot here tonight, and the point of this agenda item really was to be transparent in terms of who all this applies to. So I really appreciate the motion made by Councilmember Noor, and at this point I've forgotten who seconded. Councilmember Manfredi seconded. Any additional comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to our last item, Agenda 8.9. And
Mayor, 8.8 as well.
this is kind of strange that I keep missing things. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, Jennifer, go for it.
Yep, so this continues on with the information from the Gallagher study. So as I mentioned, the study looked at total compensation, so not just salary, but our benefits as well. And so when looking at how we stack up to the market with our benefits, we're doing great, with the exception of one category, which is for our newest employees, those who have been here for 0 to 3 years, their vacation accruals are lower than comparable cities. And so the recommendation before you tonight is to eliminate that 0 to 3 year accrual category and move to a 0 to 5 year, because we have a 3 to 5 right now, and we'll keep the same accruals that are in our 3 to 5 year, which is 112 hours annually and a maximum carry forward of 160 hours. And so that's what's before you, and it's part of our personnel policies, which are approved by council, and so that's why we brought that piece back.
Very good. I have no speaker cards on this item. Council, any questions, comments?
It sounds good. It sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you? All right. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Motion to approve by Councilmember Marsh. Do I have a second?
A second.
Councilmember Gettle has seconded. One last chance for comments, questions. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, that now takes us to our last item. This item is to select a vice mayor. So what I would like to do is just spend a minute letting you know because I think it's important. Being the vice mayor is not an easy job. I can speak as a vice mayor for Mayor Price twice and all the stuff he handed me. And you get invited to a lot of very important meetings, a lot of very important events, and as a mayor, you can't possibly attend them all. And so you really need a vice mayor that you can count on in a pinch. And Vice Mayor Wade has definitely done a stellar job doing that. Every time I call, in fact, there was one week I called him to fill in for me 3 different times, and that was in 1 week, and he was able to do all 3 times. But of course, at the next city council meeting, he had to give me a little jousting for that. But he has been exemplary in regards to filling in and always making sure that all of our organizations, all of our meetings are the people that represent those meetings feel important, because if I'm not able to go, we make sure that the vice mayor goes. And you've done a great job. I appreciate all that you've done. And given that, I want to turn it over to you to say a few words yourself.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And given that, I totally understood the duties that were before me when I took the nomination to become vice mayor. It has been, this is actually the second time that I've had that position. And I love the city of Maricopa, so for you to call upon me to go and do something to represent Maricopa is a given. There's no doubt about that. That's not going to do that. And I like the fact that people recognize that we are represented. We are there. We are in the room. I think I shared with you, I have not missed a meeting of the city council since I've been first elected to the city council. I may have been in a car talking to somebody, talking to us. I might have been on a plane, but I have not missed a meeting. And that's pretty good for 11 years. Well, appreciate it very much. I know that the next person that comes on board is going to do even more with the capacity that he possesses. And I'm really, really happy to be able to make that nomination. And for that, if you don't mind.
If you have a nomination, I'm happy to hear it.
I do. I nominate Vince Manfredi to to be the new vice mayor.
Okay.
If you want to take it.
Well, let's get a second first. Do I have
I
a second?
second.
A second from Councilmember Mars. Councilmember Manfredi, is this something that you're willing to accept?
As long as it's not as eventful as the last one. The last time I was the vice mayor, Christian Price resigned, and I had to step into those big shoes until we put Nancy in that position as a mayor. And I'm joking about that. If something happens, of course, I'm willing to step up and take care of it. And currently, if you ask me to go to things with you, or instead of you, I'll do that also. I've done it over the last year for things, including transportation.
Yes, you have.
And I think the next year is going to be a whole heck of a lot of transportation issues and things that we might face and talk. So yeah, I would accept it if my council wants me to do it.
Okay. Any further discussions on this topic? All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations. All right, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you all for hanging around and hanging in there.
Cover my shirt.